Last year, my friends and I went to my buddy's house to get drunk and smoke cigarettes as usual. We got tired of drinking in the house and wanted to smoke, so we went to a neighborhood park that we could see from my friend's house. We used to hang out and smoke there all the time when we had nowhere else to go, but we haven't been there since this happened. We were chilling and drinking and had just finished smoking under this pavilion and were chatting at a picnic table. We had been there for maybe half an hour when from a distance we saw someone walking down the cul-de-sac toward the park. This pavilion and picnic tables are part of the park, which leads to a neighborhood sidewalk and a long path that leads to the cul-de-sac. This long pathway leads to where we were at the picnic table, probably about a 3-minute walk. We were drunk but not belligerent, and I've always been the type to pay attention to my surroundings, because I've seen a number of movies where the shit hits the fan. Now let's get to the actual horror. I saw a guy walking down the street and thought nothing of it until he started walking down the path leading to where we were. I said to my friends, "Someone is walking down the street, but I think you should leave." He walked a little further down the path and I saw that he was holding some kind of shovel. I said to my friends again, "Guys, he's still on the path and it looks like he has a shovel." Another friend said, "Probably a fisherman, since there is a large pond right next to the park." He didn't look like fishing equipment to me, but everyone was nonchalant, which eased my nerves a bit, but I was still scared. At this point, everyone noticed him and he was about halfway down the path. At this point, my friend said I was realistic, what was about to happen, and that at this point, some of my friends had seen a shovel. This stranger continued down the path, and at the end of the path, probably about 150 feet away, he dropped the shovel onto the concrete and began scraping it on the ground. He then slammed the shovel against the fence of the path and said, "I swear on my life," he said in a deep voice, "I'm not going to let you go." He was now walking toward the pavilion. At that moment, 8 of us got up and ran in the opposite direction. We had to jump over fences and go through a couple of houses. 3 of my friends stayed behind thinking that all 11 of us could stand against this maniac. My 3 friends quickly learned that this man had a shovel and maybe more weapons, and that since all of our friends went under except us, they went under 30 seconds after us. One of my friends, Jared, was too tired to run and couldn't keep up, and ended up getting lost and throwing up in someone's backyard. He was drunk. They all met up on the road and tried to get the girls back to their buddy's house, but the shoveler got in the way of the road back to his house, so they went in the opposite direction. We got back on the road and had to go through 2 cul-de-sacs to get back to his house. But our lost buddy Gerard was the one we were trying to get to, and he needed the keys. The shovelman had a shovel in one hand, which he rested on his shoulder, and in the other hand he waved a gun. His partner, Gerard, shouted, "We were out of the park." Then Shovelman yelled back, "Why are you so far away?" I forgot to mention that my buddy Jacob went back to the house and got the other guy's car before the Shovelman showed up again. So we drove down the street for a minute or two and looked back and didn't see the Shovelman anymore, so we got a little frantic, but we couldn't find him, and my buddy Jared got scared and told everyone to leave. Some people said they saw the shoveler behind Jared's house, and some of my buddies ran to see if he was still there, but he was gone. I still think about that night, and every time I go back to his house, I wish I could see that shoveler again and haul his ass in. It was summer vacation and hot, so we were playing in a park near our house. We were having fun on the swings and up the slides. When one of my friends tried to go up the slide, I told her to be careful because she was wearing a skirt. As I said that, I saw a man turn around, look at us for a moment, and keep walking. While we were talking, I told her about the man, but she did nothing. We were getting bored, and I pointed to a small beach across the river. We crossed the bridge, and when we got to the little beach, we took off our shoes and talked. Then my friend said, "Look at the bridge. The guy who was watching us in the park is walking across the bridge." I told her that his car might be this way, or he might be going to the bar next to ours. 30 minutes passed, and we decided to leave and go to the town by the park to get some ice cream. We went back to get our stuff, and I sat down on the beach and started putting on my shoes. The man came down and asked us a strange question. "Are you high?" He and his friends produce music and wanted to feature us in a song and requested our Instagrams. My friend looked at him, kept saying no, and after he asked if we smoked pot, finally said we were underage. He then said, "Oh, I'm underage too. I'm 19. It's okay. Let's smoke together. I won't tell anyone." Finally, my friend said we were 12, 13, and finally he backed away and left without saying anything. We decided to go to the park. On the way up the cliff to the bridge, I ducked as I saw a man making a cell phone call by the bar across the street. Every time you answered his question, he came closer to you, his hands outstretched as if he was trying to grab you. So I decided to grab you and make a run for it. We were quiet for a while, and I asked my friend, when was the last time she saw him on the bridge? That took her by surprise. Later, we went to her house and discussed the matter further. We agreed that he was not 19, but at least about 30, but we did not tell anyone. I still think back to that, and although I have no proof that he saw us, I know she was so traumatized by it that she started carrying around pepper spray and other self-defense items. So I never asked my friend about it. Fairview Park had always been known for its tranquil beauty and serene atmosphere, especially on warm summer evenings. But recently, strange things had begun happening in the park. It started with rumors of disappearances among the visitors, but then they increased. People vanished without a trace, last seen in the secluded corners of the park where usually no one ventured. Those who returned from the park alive spoke of strange sounds and shadows that pursued them along the trails. Rumors circulated that the park was cursed or that something sinister lurked within its woods. Yet no one knew the truth, and the disappearances continued. Local residents began to avoid the park, and its attendance plummeted rapidly. But there were still those who dared to take the risk and venture into Fairview's dark woods, attempting to uncover the mystery of the disappearances and unravel the enigma hidden within its depths. Among those undeterred by the park's sinister reputation was Sarah, a determined journalist with a penchant for uncovering the truth. Intrigued by the reports of disappearances, she decided to conduct her own investigation. Equipped with a flashlight and a notepad, Sarah ventured into Fairview Park one moonlit night. The woods were eerily quiet as she followed the winding trails, her senses on high alert. Shadows danced among the trees, and every rustle of leaves made her heart skip a beat. As Sarah delved deeper into the forest, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Strange whispers seemed to echo through the trees, and an inexplicable chill ran down her spine. But she pressed on, determined to uncover the truth behind the park's dark secrets. Suddenly, Sarah stumbled upon a clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center stood an ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches reaching toward the sky like skeletal fingers. Something about the tree sent a shiver down Sarah's spine, but she couldn't tear her eyes away. As she approached the tree, Sarah noticed strange markings etched into its bark. Symbols she didn't recognize seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Her curiosity piqued. Sarah reached out to touch the markings, but before her fingers could make contact, a bone-chilling wail pierced the night. Startled, Sarah spun around to find herself face to face with a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness. Its eyes gleamed with an unnatural light as it advanced toward her, emitting a guttural growl that froze her in place. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the creature's footsteps echoing behind her as she fled deeper into the woods. Desperate to escape, she pushed herself to the limit, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Just when she thought she couldn't run any further, Sarah burst into a small clearing where the moonlight streamed down like a beacon of hope. Gasping for breath, she glanced behind her, but the shadowy figure was nowhere to be seen. As the adrenaline began to ebb away, Sarah realized she was lost. The familiar trails had vanished, and the woods seemed to stretch on endlessly in every direction. Panic gnawed at her insides as she struggled to find her way out of the labyrinthine forest. But as Sarah stumbled through the darkness, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone. Exhausted and disoriented, Sarah trudged through the dense undergrowth, her flashlight flickering weakly in the darkness. With each passing moment, the oppressive weight of the forest seemed to close in around her, suffocating her with its malevolent presence. But despite her fear and fatigue, Sarah refused to give up. Drawing on reserves of determination she never knew she had, she pressed on, driven by a relentless thirst for answers. Hours passed, and still, Sarah wandered aimlessly through the labyrinth of trees. Every shadow seemed to hide a lurking menace, every rustle of leaves a harbinger of doom. Yet she pushed forward, driven by a desperate need to escape the clutches of the forest. Just when Sarah felt she could go no further, she stumbled upon a clearing bathed in ethereal moonlight. In the center of the clearing stood a dilapidated cabin, its timbers weathered and worn with age. It loomed ominously against the backdrop of the night, seeming to pulsate with a dark energy. With a sense of trepidation, Sarah approached the cabin, her heart hammering in her chest. The air seemed to crackle with tension as she reached out a trembling hand to push open the creaking door. Inside, the cabin was shrouded in darkness, illuminated only by the feeble light of Sarah's flashlight. Shadows danced across the walls, casting grotesque shapes that seemed to leer and mock her from the darkness. As Sarah explored the interior of the cabin, she stumbled upon a series of old journals scattered haphazardly across a dusty table. With trembling hands, she picked up the nearest one and began to leaf through its pages. What she read sent a chill down her spine. The journals spoke of ancient rituals performed in the heart of the forest, of dark forces summoned from the depths of the earth to wreak havoc upon unsuspecting souls. But as Sarah delved deeper into the journals, she uncovered a glimmer of hope. Hidden among the pages were clues to breaking the curse of that plywood Fairview Park, clues that could finally put an end to the cycle of fear and despair. Armed with newfound resolve, Sarah vowed to unravel the mystery of the forest and put an end to the darkness that had consumed it. With the weight of the journals in her hands and the moonlight at her back, she stepped out of the cabin and into the night, ready to confront whatever horrors awaited her in the shadows.